Welcome to Thriving Tribesmen. My name is Kuri, your host, and I'm excited to be making this episode. Is a victim mindset the new power position? I was asking myself this question because 2 weeks ago I was on an app called Clubhouse, which is kind of like the old forums. It's voice spoken, so back in the days you'd have to read whatever somebody says, and then you have to type your thing under your thread underneath. But this is more a voice activated one. So you get called into a room, you join a room, and then you get called to a stage, then you can speak. So everybody was being nice, everybody was being polite. The conversation wasn't going anywhere because there was no real emotional charge behind it. So I thought, okay, this, for you to get good, I'm going to have to insert some emotional charge with it. And just a side note, that's something that you need to be doing within your relationship, that when things are being nicey, you should be able to inject a little bit of emotion. And that emotion doesn't have to be good or bad. It just has to be some sort of emotion. It makes it a little bit more exciting. Anyways, so the interaction was happening, and then they were talking about romance in the relationship, the role it plays. Everybody was just saying these generic things. So I came up and said, well, I just think that men are more romantic than women in general because men are just more dedicated to the relationship. So you can imagine all the women were uproar because they think they are the ones that are more in tune to what relationship should be. So they all had their opportunities to speak, and all of them had their opportunity to initially say that women are better at relationships than men, and then shame me in the process or blame me in the process, which was what I was expecting to happen. And all of them, they were mentioning what being romantic is, and they were mentioning things like candlelight dinners. They were talking about rose petals. And again, some of you guys have done this and you've confused this to be a romance, and some of you actually mentioned this as intimacy. So they started doing the same thing where they were mixing intimacy and romance and saying, candlelight and soft music, and they were saying all these things. And I was saying, so after they said all of that, I said, I understand what you're saying, but you guys are talking about creating an environment where you're most likely to induce feelings of romance, and generally those are for you. So those are real selfish things. Like, if most women would not find value in having rose petals put on a bed for them to then sleep with their husband. In fact, they might do it for your husband, and you might pretend to like it because he thinks you might like it, but generally most men, they are not affected by seeing rose petals or a candlelight dinner, all of those things. I personally I might do it because I know my wife might enjoy it, and I've done it before where I've put rose petals on the bed and lit up a room using fake candles because I didn't want to burn the hotel room down. I've done all of that, and she found it amazing and romantic. So that's creating a situation where you're most likely to fail that, and which is completely different to your day-to-day. So what are you doing day-to-day to affirm the relationship, to confirm that you're still the one? What are you doing to check the signals to say that we're okay within our relationship, we're still close, or we're getting closer, which is completely different perspective of looking at romance. So again, it became an interesting conversation when I put it that way, and it was a nice way of reshaping the conversation, because there's a few people that actually sort of said, yeah, I think I actually see what you're saying. But then there were some people that then came on that were still a little bit angry that they were told that they were not good at being romantic. So they said, well, but I look after the kids and I do all the housework, and I'm always serving this man, and I'm always doing all of these things, and I feel tired, and I'm not, so they started taking this victim mindset. And this was now them trying to take control of the conversation, that, okay, you can't blame me for not being romantic because I do all of these things. So the effort that I'm meant to be putting, I'm not going to put any more effort into this man because I'm already doing all these other things. So I'm taking this victim mindset. So therefore, don't expect anything else from me. And I was thinking about this, that they were taking this position instead of really taking what I'm trying to say, which was, a collaborative thing in the end. I know what I said it in order to provoke, but really it was an opportunity for me to actually teach something. So they took this victim mindset of I'm a victim, and this was all to now take control of the conversation and reclaim the power of women within relationships, which I thought was very fascinating, because I walked away from that thinking, that was interesting. From talking about romance, started talking about how women are victimized within a relationship. And I said, how did that happen? How did that conversation transition to that? And I started saying that in society, that's how we are thinking and that's how things are going. You see, there's this debate about transgenders and going to female spaces. I personally don't agree with it, but you might have your own opinions around it, especially when it comes to sport. I've seen some people that have gone into combat sports and really done some damage. I like jiu-jitsu. They're still allowed within many of the organizations where people have transitioned in them. Anyways, so I don't know, they've hurt a few girls, men have hurt a few girls that have transitioned and moved over. So I disagree with it, because I've seen in real life the effect of it. Anyways, so you see that, but it's a minority of people that are transgender that are making all the noise by taking this victim mindset and therefore dictating the rules of how female spaces are going to be conducted. You see what I'm saying? So there's this real thing where people feel like they need to take this sort of victim mindset in order to, and again, you see this within your relationships. So you want to talk about the relationship, you want to talk about progress in terms of getting better within getting sex within the relationship. All of a sudden, she's got all these other excuses of why she's a victim and why she cannot go further sexually within the relationship. So she's almost finding a way of checking out, in fact, a way of controlling the rest of the relationship based off of how much of a victim she is, which is crazy. And just when you thought you guys were free, some of you guys are guilty of this, where you decide you want to have the talk. You've built yourself up for the past 3 or 4 weeks, thinking about it, like, how do I tell this woman that the lack of sex is not happening? And what do? You tell her that you're depressed, you're not feeling good, you don't even know yourself, you don't even know, you don't feel loved, you're now lonely, and you say all these things that are coming off a victim. And I'm not saying they're not valid, because I've been there, so don't think I'm not empathizing. I know exactly what you feel, and I know exactly where you're at. But when you come to her with that mindset of that you are the one that's being victimized, it's not going to induce feelings of horniness or sexuality. She will see that you as a victim, and she will see that you're trying to make a play so you can take control of the relationship. So therefore, she will then go into finding her own place where she's a victim within the relationship. And then you now got this victim Olympics, where you're literally trying to find the person who's the most victim in the relationship. And all of it is to try and gain control of the relationship, which is completely different mindset. Because again, if you think about it, when everybody's playing victim, nothing is going to happen. Nobody's going to move forward. Nobody's going to win. Whereas if you take a leadership mindset of saying, okay, I see where we are, it's a really shit place, but I'm going to take control of it and move us forward. Completely different ball game. And it really nullifies any victim mindset. Now, in terms of solution for this, it's something that I'm working with the guys within Reignite Men. It's something that I will be sharing very soon. If you've got any questions and you want to see some of this, a sneak preview of what the guys in Reignite Men are learning regarding some of this stuff that I'm teaching right now, just go to my Instagram, Thriving_Tribesmen. You can just ask me about this victim mindset and how we can now get your partner to stop seeing yourself as a victim, but also starts being collaborative with you. Because again, if you both see each other as victims, or somebody who is a victim, so you now bow down to the control of her being a victim, she's now using that as a power play, and you bow down to that, your relationship becomes stagnant and never moves to the next level, because she's a victim. How does a victim take ownership and then move forward? They're not going to move forward. That's not in their nature. Essentially, it's very uncomfortable for them to move forward. So therefore, once they take control of the relationship because you're in respect of that, the fact that they're a victim, nothing's going to happen. And if you take that position of, I'm lonely, I'm depressed, I'm doing all of these other things that are negative, that are truly happening to you, and I do agree they're happening to you, and you use that as a way of trying to get control of the relationship, you're not going to get anywhere. So thank you very much, guys. Like I said, if you've got any questions around this, go to Thriving_Tribesmen on Instagram, and then I'll be able to get hold of you and start teaching you a little bit more about this, and you can get a sneak preview to what the guys in Reignited Men are learning about this, at least surrounding this. So again, for free. So thank you very much, guys. Be seeing you guys soon. Take care.